I bother to hand make a Momo cosplay when everything she wears could easily be plopped into an Amazon shopping cart? Well, her simple pleated skirt and pink sweater are perfect beginner sewing projects, and if I make mine, then you might too. So today, I'm gonna make my precious female shonen protagonist and tell you which things I think anyone can do, which ones you actually might wanna buy, and by the end, I'm hoping you'll send a little less money over to Bezos and maybe keep some in your own handmade pockets. So Momo is only 8 distinct pieces, most of which you can find in everyday life. The wig got its own video, making shoes, and I already have a white button-up. You probably have a white button-up, plus that's the one thing that would actually be difficult for a beginner. But I started with the easiest, the pleated skirt. Pleated skirts are particularly easy because it's literally 2 measurements, your waist and the length. Though, yes, there is math involved. The math is on screen and there's a free download on Patreon. But the pattern is 2 goddamn rectangles. But I'm also making this skirt even easier, and here's the trick how. Because instead of taking my waist measurement, I'm taking the measurement of the widest part of my hips, which will let me skip the zipper later. So if you want a zipper, get your waist measurement. But if you want to skip it, get your hips. Multiply that by 3, and holy sh**, you just patterned that skirt yourself. It's 2 rectangles, or 3 rectangles if you want some pockets, plus some kidney shapes to be the pockets. This little one is the waistband, and this big one is the skirt. Just cut the big one in half for the pockets. Pockets gotta come first, so I sewed 1 to each edge of the skirt rectangles. And then I put those right sides together, which means when you put them together, you can see the seams that you just put in on either side, and the clean edges are facing each other. You sew up that side seam until you hit the pocket, and then you pivot and go all the way around the pocket and up through the top of the skirt. You press them real good, and you've got pockets on a tube. I went ahead and hemmed that tube at this point, so I took one side, folded it once, pressed it real good, folded it again, and pressed it real good again. Stitched that perfectly, beautifully pressed fold in, and bim bam, beautiful double fold hem.
You ever just make something and then you have to keep coming back and looking at it to see how beautiful and perfect and flat it all is?
Next step is to take that tube and mark it at 3-inch intervals across the top. I went with a heat erase pen and then gave up on it because the white one is weird. And yes, this is a test of remembering your intervals of 3. And yes, I failed at some point. 26 is not a multiple of 3. And if you want smaller pleats, you want a smaller interval measurement, but then your ×3 measurement from the beginning might be different. And don't ask me why 3 inches means 3 times the size, because I don't know. Somebody much smarter than me figured that out a long time ago, and I just remembered it. But once that tube is covered in marks, it's time to pleat. So you've got 1, 2, and 3. 1 is the seam where your pocket is. You're gonna take 3, and you're gonna bring it over to 1. You're gonna match them up, and you're gonna make sure your fold is at your 2 mark. You're gonna get those situated, and you're gonna pin them. That's 1 pleat. This fold becomes 1. 1, 2, 3. You're gonna take 3, bring it over to 1. Make sure that fold is hitting this one now, and you're gonna pin them. Now you just do that over and over and over again until everything is pleated. And then when it's pleated, we're gonna hit it with a basting stitch, and then we're gonna press it real good. We're gonna press it real nice all the way down those pleats so that they're all nice and beautiful and crisp. And I've got a pleated skirt that's way too big for my waist, but it will fit my waist after I install a partially elastic waistband. So I've got my waistband piece. Mine's actually 2 pieces, and I have a piece of elastic that is like 1/3 the size of my waist. And also on the front half of the waistband, I put in some interfacing. And now Momo's skirt doesn't actually show, but if you want to wear this skirt for anything else, you should probably put interfacing on the front half. And before I do anything else, I take the waistband and I pressed it like this. So there's a fold in the middle of it, and then another smaller fold on one side. Now to start that elastic waistband. I'm gonna take the back piece that doesn't have the interfacing on it. I take my elastic and I tack it on one side, and then I pull it over and I tack it down to the other side. Just going back and forth on my machine a couple times. And then for extra security, but mostly to make sure it like sits right, like when it's on your waist, I'm gonna pull the elastic so that it's the same length as the waistband and hit it with 2 zigzag stitches on either side to keep it all together and scrunched up the same. Then I just gotta get that waistband closed into another tube and I'm ready to get it attached to the skirt. So I put them right sides together with the fold of that waistband fully open, and I'm attaching the skirt to the side of the waistband that doesn't have that little fold that we did earlier. And it's easiest to put them together by turning the skirt itself inside out and putting the waistband inside of it. I'm gonna get them pinned together and I'm gonna sew that waistband in the round. Once that's in, I just let those waistband folds fold and do one last stitch in the ditch. The ditch being the join between the waistband and the skirt. You're aiming for that, but again, you don't see the top of Momo's skirt, so if you mess this up and you're just using this for Momo, no one will know. But with that, I had my pleated skirt. Pleated skirts in particular, but really any skirts in general, are amazing beginner projects because you have one measurement to worry about. And especially if you make an elastic waistband, it's hard to not end up with something that will just go on your body and be a skirt. I don't know if you noticed, but I've been shooting these making videos a little bit differently because I've actually been scripting the majority of what I have to say. So I've been trying to improve my writing skills with the largest online learning community for creatives and today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare has thousands of classes on everything from film and productivity to animation, illustration, and even writing. I'm obviously writing about real things that happened to me, so I've been taking this class by Megan Dom called Writing Personal Essays. But Skillshare has tons and tons of classes on writing fiction, if that's what you're looking for. For me, this class is helping me strengthen a skill that has kind of become the backbone of my channel and make sure that the words coming out of my brain onto the page are actually coherent, though I think we all know I'm at my best when I'm incoherent. But if you are one of the 50 people to come into my Discord and ask how I made my Strawberry Miku background, well, I have great news for you, because Skillshare has a 5-class learning path on After Effects, the program that I use to make that background and all the fun graphics on my channel. With the learning paths, you don't have to go searching for your next class, because the learning paths are curated sequential class collections that are designed to help you master that specific skill. So if you're interested, listen up, because the first 500 people to use the link in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today. And next up is the red bow. And we're doing this next because it's the next easiest, though the way I like to do bows is a little more complicated than your general square of fabric turned inside out and pinched in the middle. Because I like to go for the cosmic Couturier? I never know how to say that. Couturier. The Sailor Moon tutorial people style loop bows. I do that for like almost all my bows. And the shape looks like this. You cut 4 of them on the fold, and then you get these shapes. These like roundy boys that are like not round at the top. But you take those and you put them right sides together, you sew up the sides, you do that twice, you turn those inside out, you press them really good, and you've got 2 loops. And then you just make a little rectangle piece for the center, a bigger rectangle for the tails, you hand sew all that together, and I also made a little piece that goes all the way around my neck, and parachute clips in the back, but that's it. Once they're all sewn together, that's the bow. Bows are easy. You don't have to overcomplicate it like I did. You can do whatever you want. You can just make a rectangle and pinch it, but I like fancy bows. Now we get to the pink sweater, and this is where it gets difficult. Because while a pleated skirt can be made of a woven fabric like cotton twill, the sweater should probably be done in a knit fabric, aka stretch fabric, aka the devil. This is where I give you full permission to just go buy a pink sweater from the thrift store. Save something from the trash. if you can, because stretch is hell. The first level of stretch hell is that stretch is a bitch to cut. It is slippery and it won't stay where you put it, and God help you if you don't actually have sharp sewing scissors, cause it's gonna get caught and not actually cut all the way through and like get stuck in the scissors, and it's really miserable. Then if you're unlucky enough to not have a ballpoint needle on your machine, when you go to sew it, your machine might start skipping stitches or unraveling stitches or ratting stitches at the bottom or not even stitching at all. That's because those awful stretch fibers are getting pierced by your regular needle and sticking to it, preventing the bobbin thread from properly looping the top thread. Yes, I'm reusing this animation again because I'm not redoing it. It was hard. Ballpoint needles push around the stretch fibers so that your stitches actually go through. But oh no, it's the final level of stretch hell in that you used a straight stitch. So now when you go to put it on, all of your seams snap open. But yeah, if you use a zigzag, lightning, or stretch stitch, that won't happen because the zigzag pattern of all of those helps move the stitches with the fabric, meaning that it won't snap, whereas the straight stitch doesn't have anywhere to go. Or you can use a serger or a cover stitch machine, which make stitches that are like the most stretch possible because they have multiple needles and can do lots of different things. But if you're a beginner, you probably don't have one, but I did just tell you how to do it without either. Though, realistically, you could make this out of a non-stretch fabric if you really wanted to, but I chose to do this in a lightweight cotton jersey. I did originally think about actually knitting the entire sweater, and then I was like, well, what if I hire my friend Alyssa to do it for me? But then I remembered that I want to wear Momo to MomoCon in May. I'm not wearing a knitted sweater in Georgia in May. So I went with a cool and thin cotton jersey. So it's like a t-shirt, essentially. And for this though, I do have a pattern for you, but it is not mine. I found this free perfect v-neck t-shirt pattern, and all I did was lengthen the sleeves. I didn't change the fit at all, just made the sleeves longer. Not changing the fit might come to haunt me later. It seemed like it would be a good like oversized piece on me, but I don't actually know. Anyway, my first step was actually just sewing in the shoulder seams because I had to face the hardest part first. The neckline. So I literally had to find a video of a lady doing this because I've never done this before and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I wrote down the steps of what she did. This is a center seam V neckline on knit fabric. The first thing this lady did, she marked her seam allowance on both the neckline of the shirt, with the biggest thing being to mark where this point is. And then this is the neckband. So it's like this long rectangle with these triangle cutouts at the end. I also pressed this thing in half because apparently you're supposed to do that. Now, I think what I'm supposed to do, and I could go look at this again, but I'm not going to, I guess. Yeah, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to fold it to where these points match up so that you get both of these like pointed ends together, and you're supposed to sew them together. And she sewed them together with a straight stitch, which I think is just going to be fine because there's not actually going to be any stretch like right here on the neckline. But I'm gonna sew these together. Oh, I didn't thread my machine yet. God damn it. So now I have this. So it's a tube with this weird thing and what I believe I am supposed to do. And this would be nicer if I had actually done even seam allowance, and I did not. But I'm supposed to open up this seam allowance. Maybe I'm supposed to clip this here? Maybe? Probably? I don't know. Boop. If you want to watch somebody that actually knows what they're doing, the video I learned how to do this with is linked in the description. But you come here to watch me suffer. Anyway, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to get these seam allowances open like this, and I'm supposed to fold them together so that they make this nice little triangle. And then I'm supposed to do another little basting stitch through here to keep them together. So now I have a nice little triangle guy that's nice and flat, and that will go right here. So now is the part where I'm supposed to mark the seam allowance on the neckline piece, just at the triangle part. And what she did is she took like an awl or something, but I'm just gonna use this big old pin. Put the pin through your point on this guy, and then take your pin and pin it through your other point. Pivot all that over here. I'm gonna pin this on. And we're doing this because we're about to essentially install an inverted corner. But we need to do that by basting it in first and then sewing it in with the serger. We're gonna go over to the machine. I'm gonna baste it up until that point. I'm gonna pivot everything, and then I'm gonna clip just the shirt portion pretty close to that point. Then I should be able to take the neckline piece and pivot everything around and do a little more basting just on that neckline point. I'm just gonna hope there's not like a hole in there. I feel like I cut it too far. You're only supposed to go a little bit, but I'm also only going very far because I'm scared. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. I mean, it's not that bad, but I feel like there's a hole. There's a hole. I cut too far. God damn it. It's not that bad. Should I try again? Should I take that out? I don't know. No, it's the smallest pucker in the world. I think I'm just gonna leave it. If I wanted to do it again, I just cut too far. And I think I cut like off course. Like I didn't get all the way in there. So don't do that, I guess. Oh, do I do it again? I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try it again. I feel like what I should have done is when I got to that point, I should have just taken it off of the machine because my presser foot was too big to see what I was doing when I cut it. Okay. It's out. Yeah, I cut way too far. I'm gonna do it from the top side now. I clearly have much less experience with knits than this lady does. But now I have the shirt on the top, so I can at least see the cut that I have made and make sure I don't create a hole. Gonna baste up to the point. It's already cut, so I'm gonna take this up, swing that. That looks like if I go real slow right here, then I will not get a hole. Oh. Breaking the tense moment to, have you noticed my machine changed colors? That is because our beloved BO5, the crafter, the machine that I have been using for like a year and a half, has been discontinued. Hold on though. The big twist though is that the crafter had a twin the entire time. This is the BO5 Academy. It is exactly the same machine. The only difference between the Academy and the crafter is that the Academy comes with a speed setting. You can actually set it to be really slow. It also comes with this big ass table attachment, which is pretty cool, and it's blue. That's the only difference. I say that because if you don't know, in the description of all of my videos, I have an affiliate link for Burnett machines that goes for all Burnett machines. So even if you don't want the Academy, if you want a computerized machine, I like that this machine is non-computerized because it makes it easier to understand for anyone. It makes it easy for me to explain sewing things in videos, and it doesn't have a computer, and most sewing machines die by their computer, and this one doesn't, so if you take care of it, it will last a very long time. But my very fancy serger is also a Burnett, so if you're interested in that, you should check out that link, because doing that helps support the channel, because that gives me a little portion of the monies. Anyway, I'm gonna stop avoiding doing this now. How did she do? Oh, that's so much better. That is so much better. Okay. Yay! Hooray for fixing things! I really didn't want to. There's all these weird threads in here now. That was literally the hardest part of this shirt. Doing an inverted corner in stretch fabric. I got great news. Everything else about this is super easy. Now, I will say, the next thing I have to do is go around and attach this band on my serger, which I have never done that kind of thing before, so we'll see how that goes, but it will probably go fine. If you don't have a serger, again, you're just gonna wanna finish sewing this around the neckline with a zigzag stitch. So I ended up going from the center point all the way around to the center back, and then I got really afraid that the band was not going to fit in the neckline and that I would end up with a pucker in the front. So then I got off, started over again from the center point on the other side, went around to the back, and then kind of stretched the band in the back because I don't think they would have actually fit. But let me see how that looks. There's a pucker in the back, but that's okay, because I'm more concerned with how the front looks. I think it looks okay. Got a pucker in the back. It's looking kind of weird right here because of that basting stitch, but I think if I take that out, it might be okay. I think the front looks okay. It doesn't look even. Like, it looks like it ended up bigger on this side, but I'm not gonna let that drive me crazy, and I'm gonna finish this thing. I'm actually gonna make this a little bit easier for myself, and I'm gonna do the thing where you don't finish the sleeves. Like, I don't want to do the sleeves in the round, and I've already got the shoulder seams in, so I'm actually gonna sew my sleeves in flat. I'm gonna get their band attached to them, which is just a little rectangle of fabric that I have folded over once, and it's gonna get serged onto the very end of those sleeves. I'm gonna get the sleeves on the still open shirt. Then I'm gonna close up the sleeves and the side seams at the same time by doing one stitch all the way through that, and I will have a shirt without a hem, and to hem it, doing another band. So again, a long rectangle of fabric folded over once and sewn to the bottom. And oh my God, I've got a Momo sweater. And I still don't have any earrings.
Hee hee hee. I'm gonna be really honest. My biggest fear with this cosplay was that I was going to hate how it looked on my body because it's an oversized sweater over a skirt. And you know, there's no like waist definition. Also, yeah, this is not the bow I just made because this video was filmed out of order. Ooh. But I do think the bow I make, I'm gonna make it like nice and big to kind of compensate. Because this is a very large sweater. It's supposed to be a large sweater. But yeah, I don't hate it. And I especially think that if I make like a really big bow, like maybe a bow that's like bigger than it's supposed to be, then I'll really like it. But it's a very simple cosplay. But the best thing is that it is very comfortable. And it has 2 pockets.
Okay, lightning round, because I straight up almost forgot to do the leg warmers. So I ended up having to make them out of an awkward scrap of spandex that I just had, but all they are is a little band and a big long piece. I did kind of base mine more on what they look like in the manga. In the manga, they look more like traditional bunched up leg warmers, and I made these basically the same way I did the sleeves. The band went on the top and the side got sewn up, and I just serged the bottom because I was feeling lazy. The earrings, though, I was also being lazy. Like, literally, like, the day before I did the reveal, I was like, oh, I have no earrings and no leg warmers. Let's just do this right now. Anyway, they are just 2 ovals cut out of EVA foam that I hit with a couple coats of Mod Podge, couple coats of green acrylic paint, and then I did something a little weird. Originally, I planned to do like a resin coat, but I was not feeling having to wait a whole day for that to cure, and it would have taken 2 days if I was gonna do both sides because of the kind of resin I have. Anyway, you know what I did have was clear gel nail polish. So they got clear gel nail polish to seal the paint, and I'm kind of really happy I did this instead of resin because of how big I made them. They're actually still really light, which is great for me because I don't wear earrings like ever, so I'm not used to it. And then of course they got a hole punched, and I just put a jump ring through the hole, and then I know these are supposed to have a stud, but I'm actually allergic to nickel, which is one of the reasons I never wear earrings. But I can wear titanium in my ears, and the only titanium earring bases I have right now are hooks, so whatever, they have hooks. But with that, Momo was finally done, and it was time to take her out to the garage and give my very best attempt at her iconic kick. If you're brand new or you've been here for a while, but you've never felt like anything that I've made would be remotely possible to make, this one was for you. There are ways to simplify or supplement any piece of Momo, and I genuinely believe she is just like the perfect example of what you should look for in a first cosplay. Because if you get to a point where you're like, well, I cannot make this pink sweater, you can easily just go buy a pink sweater. But I would encourage anybody of any skill level with sewing to try and make that pleated skirt, because it's 2 goddamn rectangles. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to support the channel directly, you can check out my Patreon, where you'll get some exclusive content like weekly live streams and monthly update videos. But if you're just watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, sending the video to a friend or your mom, or subscribing, then you're supporting the channel too, so thank you. And if you want even more extra content, you can check out my second channel, Sarah Spaceman Surplus, where I post my Patreon streams after they're like a year old, and some extra other stuff. And the biggest thank you to my newest big support tier patrons: Trav, Rebecca, Lav Moon, Moth Cosplay, Yuna, Megan, Snaily Man, Michelin, Birdie B, Winter Tiger Draws, Vampirus, Harry Hat, Patch 80, Tamari Cosplay, Rosalox, Kez.cos, Hobbitish, Elelis, Candy Teeth, The Loki Pokey, and The Ecliptic Arts. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!